morning. It's Mark Bosser, Top Loco, here with Bernie Pawlik, Pawlik Automotive, and this is the Pawlik Automotive podcast and video series. And we're talking cars. How are you doing this morning, Bernie?
Doing well.
So we're talking about a bit of an exotic car today, a 2014 Audi R8 that had a maintenance scheduled. What was going on with this vehicle?
Yeah, this vehicle just came to us for some routine maintenance service. It had about 24,000 kilometers. We did an inspection, needed an oil change and some air filters, and that was kind of all the car needed at the moment. But yeah.
Basically just been aging in a garage. Did you find any issues with it?
No, really, besides the air filters were dirty and obviously, hadn't been replaced. There was not much really wrong with it. As far as mileage, it's pretty low, and not that there aren't things that do start happening to these cars, but as I say, time is often a much of a car killer as mileage. It's not killer, isn't really the right word, but it ages the car and requires service. But in this case, nothing was needed. It was in good shape.
What's involved in an oil change on this vehicle?
Well, they're a little more time consuming than your average vehicle. It uses a dry sump oil system, and I can explain that in a couple of minutes. But why don't we just get into a couple of pictures right now, and you can see our nice R8 there, sitting in the shop. Same platform as the Lamborghini Gallardo, so you get a bit of Lambo for the price of an Audi, which is kind of cool. And what else we got here? We have one more picture, which is my favorite part. What's neat about this car is it's got that, if you ever look at these cars, it has that sloped back, well, I'll call it a trunk. It's not, but it's a mid-engine car. And so you can see the engine on display through a glass cover, which I think is a really cool design feature. But once things are removed, you can see there's two quite dirty air filters here. There's a big box that they're encased in. So they need to be replaced. It's just a beautiful work of engineering, this engine. Really, really nice looking, very pleasing to look at. What can I say? I was saying it has a dry sump oil system, and so that involves a little more work in terms of changing the oil. There's a number of oil drain plugs that need to be removed, not just one like a standard oil pan would have, but there's several that need to be removed, plus the filter's kind of buried. That's kind of it. So it takes a little more time to change the oil, and of course the air filters are hidden away in a big box, so more time, but they don't need to be serviced too often.
So with the dry sump system, how does that work?
So dry sump is basically, as opposed to a wet sump is like a standard oil pan in a car. Usually, a standard car will have an oil pan where all the oil drains in this catch pan in the bottom of the engine, which will hold anywhere from 4 to maybe 8 liters of oil, depending on the engine. And a dry sump doesn't hold that oil in the bottom. It basically has a pump that sucks that oil. So the pan is essentially flat. The oil's sucked and it's stored in a separate tank in a different location. And the advantage to that is that you can pump the oil in, and it doesn't. It can be when you're driving really fast and you're going around a corner, the oil sloshes around, and so there's a possibility that you could actually starve the engine for oil. So in severe racing applications, all those kind of engines have dry sumps. In the case of this Audi, though, another reason they use a dry sump is because the pan, of course, will stick down a lot, and this is a very low-riding car. So to keep the center of gravity low without having the oil pan there, you can actually mount the engine lower and put all the heavy parts, the weight down low where you want it, for better handling. So that's another reason for it as well. I think I explained that. Is there anything else I missed about dry sump? I think that kind of explains it all.
That's pretty good. So what's the recommended service interval on this car?
These are, the first oil service, it's basically an annual service. So every 12 months, the vehicle should be serviced, oil changed, and a vehicle inspection done. As far as mileage, every 10,000 miles or 15,000 kilometers is kind of the recommended, except for the first service is 8,000 miles. So, but then after that, 8,000 kilometers. Then after that, it's 15,000 Ks after that, or 12 months, whichever comes first. Now, if you've only driven, 1,000 kilometers, I would assert you could probably go a couple years between oil changes, because it's not going to deteriorate or get contaminated that quickly. And it's not necessarily a good thing to change oil too often either.
And you're just wasting resources.
wasting resources, but there's also, I'm not an expert on oil, but what I've read is that there are certain additives to oil that can actually poison catalytic converters. If you change it too often, these, I think it's phosphorus or something in the oil. I could well be wrong about that. But if you were to change your oil too often, it can actually poison your catalytic converter, because this item, it's burned off as time goes by, and too much of it will wreck your catalytic converters. So not something we see very often, because most people don't change their oil too often, but it's something that I'm kind of cognizant of.
Sure. So this is obviously a very high performance semi-racing vehicle. How reliable is it?
Yeah, really reliable. I mean, I think the neat thing about an Audi R8 is that, if you want to get into it, it's essentially a Lamborghini Gallardo. This is a V8 model, so it's kind of tuned down a little bit, because I believe the Lambos all have V10s, and of course the Audi R8s are available with the V10 as well. But I mean, the car goes really well. It's got like a 420 something horsepower, little 3,500 pound little rocket. It's a pretty good moving car. I mean, they're very reliable. I mean, yeah, they're going to be more expensive to fix than your average, like an Audi A4, but for the kind of car it is, it's a really good bargain, and you can get them used for a good price. Even new, they're well priced. So I think if this is the kind of car you want, it's a great vehicle to own.
So if you're looking for your service for your R8 or any Audi in Vancouver, the guys to see are Pawlik Automotive. You can reach them at 604-327-7112 to book your appointment. You have to call and book ahead. They're always busy.
Always busy.
Check out the website, pawlikautomotive.com. Hundreds of videos and blog posts about repairs and maintenance of all makes and models of cars. And of course, bragging about 20 years of best autos, or 20-time winners of best auto repair in Vancouver, as voted by their customers. And thank you so much for watching the podcast. We appreciate it. Thanks, Bernie.
Thanks for watching. And thanks, Mark.